Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Fourtress Finest. This is a spin-off podcast where this time around we are covering the HBO series The Last of Us, based off the video game, obviously. This week, episode 3, Long Time. Is a doozy. Before we begin, from the top, just a quick trigger warning potentially for listeners. There is themes and actual suicide in this episode, so that might be heavy for some people, so just be aware of that because we'll also be talking about that probably towards the end but throughout, so just be aware. With that, Devin, I want you to tell me what you thought of this episode first.
Oh God.
That about sums
Also
it up.
spoilers, obviously.
I mean, I want to know some stuff from you guys, because for me as a neutral, I basically got the most tragic and beautiful backstory for what was essentially a supply drop for the main characters. The main plot was basically Ellie and God, I'm blanking.
Joel,
thank you. I was going to say
Ellie
Josh.
and Pedro Pascal.
Joe and Ellie are, they need a car, and he knows a friend and that has one, and basically they go and, oh, their friend's dead, and they drive away with the car. That's all that you needed to know for the main story. But for an hour, you just get invested in this absolutely tragic story.
it gave you the best and longest opening to any Pixar movie ever.
Oh my God. Yeah. I had dried tears on my face just so that they can have a car and drive away. I was like, so I don't know. I just wanted to know in the game how Bill's character was, because I think he probably, and they kind of alluded to it in the after credit thing, but I think they probably, you probably play as him, or you interact with him somehow, and he's probably still alive.
Brian, you tell me, should we save that, since that is a pretty big deviation? Should we save that for specific video game comparison section?
I think we could talk about that afterwards. I think this is they're so different.
There's so much to talk about just in this
Very
episode.
different.
Okay. All right, so we'll save those video game comparison spoilers for later.
There's
but yes,
plenty to talk about here without it right now. Let's be real.
Exactly, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So did you like it though?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was beautiful.
Okay.
I mean, it left you feeling emotions, but I just for this show, I mean,
it was a wild third episode.
I just don't know why they should have called the show or game The Last of Us. You should have just called it Sad Hours and just save my time here and be like, hey, you're just gonna. This is the sadness show. Just watch this to feel emotions, but not the. I mean, but it was beautiful also, and I think that's why it sticks with you. Like we were trying to watch another show right after, and I was like, I just cannot focus on this show. I need to
right.
I need to take
need
a few
to process.
minutes to, process what just happened. So yeah, for that reason, that's why they make, that's why you make artistic endeavors like this, is to make people feel things, and it definitely was successful there.
Brian, what about you?
I think that this episode of television might be one of the best LGBTQ plus love stories to come out in at least a decade.
Woo!
Like Devin said, just so a motherfucker could get a car. They wrote a whole Disney movie just so a motherfucker could get a car. And,
they did great. In 50 minutes, they did what so many full feature movies and full 24 or 12 episode seasons can't do.
Yeah. Yep.
And the fact that they made a love story that I connected with and felt for in one episode.
Yeah.
In less than one episode. But and it was incredible. I thought this was one of the best pieces of television I've ever seen, and also definitely damn seen in a while, and definitely will go down as one of the best episodes of TV this year, hands down.
Yeah,
it was I absolutely loved it. It was not what I expected at all, but I loved every second of it. Like Devin, it made me teary eyed so many times throughout. I can't wait till we talk about these specific scenes where I was just incredibly emotional and I also like it because I know it's going to piss a lot of toxic idiots off. So that's always great.
Oh my God. Can you imagine something to just cut right to the heart of the guys that are, sitting there at first, Ron Swanson, Bill.
Nick Offerman
is
Ron Swanson.
basically the same character. But, he's got that no step on Snick flag, and he's got all of his guns, and he's got the doomsday prepper. He's gay.
Got him.
Gotcha.
Gay
Gotcha, three
redneck.
percenters. Like,
Yep.
I bet they're like during the
Absolutely.
piano scene, there were so many just like real butthurt
I'm sure.
conservative people.
Yeah, those people can get fucked. Yeah. Um, we'll talk about Bill in a second. Let's quickly just talk about, since we do start with Ellie and Joel, no cold open, we will say. So the first time, no cold open before the
Mhm.
credits, straight to the credits. Joel and Ellie just obviously mourning Tess in their own kind of ways
Mhm.
after her tragic demise the last episode. Um, it's just a little bit of them just kind of walking around. This is very similar to the game. These aren't, again, listeners, video game comparisons are fair game. Nothing future spoilers. That'll be later on, so check the time codes. And nothing too massively deviating from the game. That they'll also be saved for a little bit later. But yeah, this is very much in the game where they're just walking to Bill's and they're looting. They're looting like a video game, and I kind of loved it.
Mhm.
I definitely remember saying out loud. I was like, "This is the video game part." And
Yeah.
Mhm.
he's like, we need to find scraps and stuff, and like, there's not much ammo, so we need to find it. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
it's like it looks like the
Yeah.
literal building that you do be looting in when you're
And
playing the game.
they encounter, an arcade machine, and they have a, granted, it's not the same one from the game, because then the game, they made it up, because obviously I don't think they wanted to buy the rights to talk about Mortal Kombat, but I love that it was Mortal Kombat. I thought that was so fun.
Mortal Kombat 2 is the best one. I'm just gonna say,
Yeah,
you enjoy it a whole lot.
very true.
Mhm.
That being said, it's kind of funny that like this is like 2023 and not 2033. So like if it was 2033, Joel might not even really known about Mortal Kombat. To be honest, he would have been probably maybe slightly older than we are right
Right,
now.
Yeah,
yeah,
like, true.
very true, so,
So I thought
yeah,
that was
that
funny.
makes sense. So, yeah, love that whole
She
bit.
finds the ultra rare item, just a box of tampons.
Yeah, man, that is very rare. That's, yeah.
I was thinking about that. I was like, damn. I guess most of the fucking QZ just be free bleeding, huh? Because
Yep,
feminine products, I'm sure, and
yep,
yeah, that's rough.
Mhm.
absolutely. So, yeah.
Also, probably most of them aren't. Never mind. This is getting too far in depth about that. Based on diet and
Yeah.
stuff, yeah, people probably aren't having normal periods. Let's
Nope.
be real. Uh,
Yeah.
anyway,
I'm Ellie. I'm like, why the fuck would you go down that dark ass cellar by yourself? What
that's
the fuck are you doing?
flashlight or no. If I can't see what the fuck is down there, I'm not going down there. You know what I mean?
Nope.
Like,
No.
I'm making as much noise as I can, like chucking shit down there to wake anything that's asleep down there before I go down there. Like, fuck
absolutely.
that.
She has like a kind of alarming amount of like not enough caution in like this current situation, like in an apocalypse.
Have you met a
I mean,
14-year-old
she's a
before?
sheltered kid,
About to
you
say, have
know?
you met a 14-year-old child? They think they're
True,
invincible.
true, true.
Right? A 14-year-old that's never seen the outside world.
Mhm.
That's true.
Like, it also shows Ellie a little bit of her little sociopathic tendencies when
Yeah.
she just stabs that monster in the head. There.
Like they are still kind of people, Ellie. I don't
I
know.
mean, I'm on board. Kill them all. That's less people that can get infected. I'm sorry. It's
That's
like
it.
dealing with zombies. You can't risk it.
Yeah.
God, it's just the way she went about it was just so wrong. I
It
don't
was
know.
it was yeah, it was a little Dahmerish,
She
let's
got
just
the
say.
darkness inside of her. She got that darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then yeah, they loot. Obviously, Ellie this entire episode wants a gun. Joel will refuse to give her a gun. Could you imagine Ellie taking that giant machine gun? Are you nuts?
She would have knocked her back so fast.
Good
Which is funny.
lord.
I like that he did say that, like, you can't find ammo for this shit, so there's no use in really having it, so I'm just gonna put it away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that was interesting that they kind of like explained it a way of why you don't carry that machine gun because, like, yeah, you wouldn't
Mhm.
have it.
There's a lot of fun stuff like that that explains like weird video game ness
For sure.
that'll come up later. Yeah, yeah. And then obviously they come across a pile of corpses, which is a similar thing in the game. Obviously, and this is the thing I like about the show is that they're still honoring a lot of these fun, like intimate moments in the game, but they're like putting them in different spots. Like there is a
Mhm.
conversation where Joel and Ellie come across a pile of burning corpses, and he's like, "Don't look at that." Blah blah blah. Blah. So it's very similar to what happened in this, is just different context, which I thought was cool. And they obviously they talk about the fact that yeah, Fedra just got people, and if they didn't fit in the QZ, they just killed all of them.
But see, that just makes no sense because that bothered me a lot because isolated towns, like they kind of showed it with Bill's whole backstory, but like, one infected kind of wanders through. And since they would already, at that point, the small town would know what happened. So they could have probably been fine if they
Right.
just stayed in the small town. But like the fact to round people up and shoot, I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. Like the small towns is where you
I
should have
don't
put
think
the
it's
whole
supposed to
QZ.
make sense.
Have you seen the way that we reacted to our pandemic that we've had? We wouldn't make the right decision. Let's
Right.
let's be honest. It seems so goofy what they're doing, but like we would probably do something just as stupid. Let's be real.
But I just don't get why they like the Boston QZ, the Baltimore QZ. Like you shouldn't have QZs in urban centers where all the infected are. You should
Right.
have them out in these kind of rural areas where
Mhm.
there wouldn't be as many.
I mean, Ellie literally has the line of the shitty government failed to prevent a pandemic, which I was like, that's very
Oof,
that's very
true.
present.
Did she look directly in the camera when she said that? Jesus
Right.
Christ.
I will say there was a part of me that as soon as Joel starts talking about the bread and how this all started, I was like, I still don't think I needed this.
Yeah.
But because I was like, wasn't that the whole point of the last cold open with the whole factory and everything? You know, I was like, I
Mhm.
think, okay, spelling it out for us even more. I don't think I needed it,
I
but
agree.
I was okay. It led to a scene that was fine. And so, like, especially by the end of this episode, I kind of forgot that scene existed, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, I think they're
Right,
just really
right.
trying to suck their own dicks of like, we want you to know that they could have got sick with the pancake mix. Know that
Right.
we wrote that in. Like, we get it. You wrote that in. That's cool. Ha ha ha. He didn't get
Yeah.
the birthday cake, so he didn't get sick. They didn't make the pancakes, they didn't buy the pancake mix, so he didn't get sick.
Yeah.
Sure. Who fucking cares? It doesn't matter. Like, move on.
Yeah.
But the audience is smart enough to pick up on stuff like that.
They are.
So just leave it, dude. Like,
Exactly.
don't babysit me.
It was on
Yeah.
Twitter within 30 minutes of the first episode coming out. Like,
Yeah.
Right,
people already
right.
knew.
It's in the bread.
But now let's get to the meat of the episode, starting in 2003, which I was like, oh shit, flashback. Little did I know we were getting straight to Bill. Bill is he's a doomsday prepper. Like
whoa. A survivalist.
Survival.
yes, sorry, excuse me.
A psychopath. Got you. Don't do that.
He is paranoid, but he is not a schizophrenic. Nick Offerman killed it, man. He
Yeah.
fucking killed it,
I
dude.
hate how good he looks as a redneck. I hate how much sense it makes when he does that style, because Nick Offerman's like a great guy. He's very cute and goofy and nerdy and
Yeah.
stuff. But then he just like, when he gets that long hair and that beard, I'm like, fuck. That man looks so damn right wing. I hate it.
Yeah, he is. Like
Mhm.
also like they talk about it in the either in the podcast or in their little after behind the scenes stuff that yeah, he's a conservative Second Amendment doomsday prepper, you know, like he is which
Mhm.
is why it adds so much to his character when you think about it that yeah, he's a gay man as
Yeah.
well. Like
He also worked in the before he was in his basement there, before the pandemic hit, he was definitely working at his local Parks and Rec office because he did. I mean, Ron Swanson, not very far off from this guy. I guess the only difference is that this guy got a much better love story than Ron Swanson with his crazy ex-wife in Parks and Rec.
Yeah, it's funny that he likes to play libertarian and conservative
Yeah.
adjacent characters so much, because I don't think that Nick Offerman
Right.
is about that life. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, he
Yeah,
plays
I
a
don't know.
character a little too well, and Ron Swanson is very much just that character, just not in a pandemic.
Right. He definitely gets that character. I don't know if he,
Yeah.
you know, what his personal feelings are, but yeah, it's just funny to see him cast in two very similar roles. in that regard.
Yeah. But I love that whole first sequence of him setting up the town, going to Home Depot, turning the gas back on, and just like he had it all. Dude has it made.
Oh yeah,
The whole town to himself. He's got farms, he's got chicken, he's hunting, he's got he's
Mhm.
got it fucking made, and he's a damn good cook.
you're right. Apparently, he was
Yeah.
making some damn good meals. But that did feel. I mean, we're gonna talk about it later in the episode. What kind of happens? But I think it is so stupid to try to secure such large areas, especially as one person, because that's such a easy way to get fucked. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
You have so many
Mhm.
blind angles and stuff like that because you're living in one house in this giant neighborhood. And like, I mean,
Mhm.
Joel brings it up like, you can't protect this shit all by yourself. Like, this is crazy if you
Yeah.
even try to do. So I don't know why the fact that it takes as long as it does for anybody to come through to try to fuck people's shit up
Yeah.
is mind blowing to me. Because Walking Dead, your
Right.
shit gets fucked in about 3 days by the time a raider finds you and decides they want what you have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, cut to 4 years later, so it's 2007. Introduce Frank, who, man, again, shout out to Murray Bartlett. He killed it. He was fantastic as Frank. I just can't give more compliments to the two of these guys that they just crushed it entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he lets him in, and like I think this was the first like tear jerky scene for me is after they've had their first meal, the piano scene.
Hmm.
I guess shout out to Linda Ronstadt. who to be honest, I haven't heard this song before, but it was good. This is a good theme
Sure.
for this whole fucking episode.
Yeah. I love the first line to each other too. Just quickly backtracking. Everybody's gonna want a free lunch. And then he's
Oh,
like, Arby's was a restaurant. They didn't give out free
right.
lunch.
I bet you Arby's looking right now like, what the hell did they just say?
Oh, you know they
Yeah.
want to tweet
No,
that
no, no,
shit
no,
out.
no, no, no. There's gonna be a giant controversy. People are gonna look for Arby's for free lunches. The piano scene I just thought was like such a sweet a thing you don't see in this universe very often, which is music. You know,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
you don't. I mean, obviously, like no new music's being made. No new music is like music is not an element that people are concerned with in an apocalypse. You know, and so it's kind of a beautiful scene that music still survives a bit, and like even though Frank is not the best piano player, and I like how Bill's just like, nope, no, thank you, stop, nope.
Yeah,
Not
oh
that
man,
one.
he was butchering that song.
He was playing it the wrong way. It wasn't that kind of song.
Mhm.
And shout out to Nick Offerman for singing, you know? It was like, "Alright."
Mhm.
It was beautiful, yeah.
He was a little sing talking, but he was singing.
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah,
He was enunciating real hard.
yeah. And then, shout out to Frank going straight for the kiss. Frank did not wait a damn minute.
I listen.
Yo, it's the apocalypse, yo, I don't blame you.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm gonna get mines. Homeboy, pretty cute.
Between that and then just being naked in the bed when they come out he comes out of the showers, like, these are he's putting the moves.
He said, "I
Yeah.
don't just fuck for lunch," and I was like, "Listen, man, done it for less. Let's be real." Uh,
Right. Again, like Brian was saying, like, just a beautiful romantic scene that, like, I feel like we can count how many times we've seen this on one hand. Like, a love scene between 2 men naked in a bed, like, how often do you see that these days? And the fact that it was on, um, um, I'm gonna say mainstream, I guess. I think Last of Us, this at this point in this show is now a mainstream show that everyone's talking about, like,
sure.
it's incredible, you know? That's nuts.
Yeah, and it wasn't like it's stereotype breaking. Like you said, you had like a very Republican conservative man with this other
Mhm.
man and things like that. Everyone's pretty like grizzly and beards and stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
a lot
a
of
lot
lot
of
of beard in those
beards,
kisses.
lots of
there was
hair.
it was very uncomfortable that scene because there was just way too much hair going on there. I need someone to clean this shit up. What's going on here? But yeah, no, I think it was beautifully handled and well done. I'm of course saying this as a straight male, but no, I
Right.
don't know. It didn't feel forced, and we're in a world right now where a lot of inclusiveness is feeling forced.
Mhm.
So I think they hit a good nuance there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is it's hard to do in this day and age.
I will say that Craig Mazin said on the podcast that, like, they did do their research and they did talk to a lot of people, and also Murray Bartlett, who plays Frank, is a married middle-aged gay man, and so is the man who directed this episode, and apparently the person who also edited this episode. They were all married middle-aged gay men, which is what, and they specified the importance of middle age is what
Mhm.
they wanted to establish there.
Sure.
Mhm.
And I think it comes through because it's man, this is the most believable romance like I've seen in a while. Like this is incredible.
To watch Nick Offerman's like Bill, his walls come down so quickly,
Mhm.
because he became so soft so quickly with them, even though he like very
Right.
much was the one that was like the angry, kind of aggressive one.
Yeah.
As soon as Frank started talking
Mhm.
to him, he instantly turned into very much a baby in his arms when it kind of came down to
Yeah.
it. And I thought that was just a very, I don't know, it was a very interesting dynamic to watch him break down his walls and kind of like retract from being just a crazy psychopathic gun-toting man. There's
Right.
a heart down there. Man giggles when he eats a
Yeah.
strawberry. You know what I mean? Just like
Oh my
little sweet
god.
shit like that. That it's like that's a
Yeah.
human being. Like he's not
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
some crazy.
And like again, adding to his character of the conservative gay closeted gay man. He's never slept with a man before. He slept with one girl a long time ago, and I would imagine it's because the social circles, if he had any, he also seemed like the type of person that just
Just didn't
was
talk to people.
alone his whole
Right.
life, you know? He
Mhm.
didn't like anyone, but that could also be because the social circles that were around him, he knew maybe wouldn't accept him for who he was, you know? And so it is kind of a lovely scene of Frank where like, well, we'll start with the basics, the slow stuff, you know? And it was a very beautifully soft scene between the two of them. It was great.
Mhm. Yeah.
Cut to 3 years later, 2010, they fucking hate each other's guts now. Which was just like it was a great juxtaposition between those 2 scenes where the
Yeah.
just most intimate sex scene, and then
And they're
fight.
driving each other crazy. I love the line where he's like, "You're the one that thinks the government's all Nazis." Like, the government is all Nazis. He's like, "Well, now, but not before." Like, I love
Yeah.
that.
They have a full ass fight and meltdown over paint.
Right, yeah, he just
Yeah.
wants to paint. He wants to make the town his. He wants to make the town more like him, and yeah, it was just so fun to watch that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny. I was trying to think of like what would be the use of paint that I would need to be stingy about paint. And I was like, I know you're kind of living in a life in a world where it's like the things that you use frivolously tend to be the things that you end up needing the most later. So I can definitely understand
Right.
always being worried about it. Like who knows when you need to like paint some kind of sign or something, or need
Right,
to let
right.
somebody know that you need rescuing or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's plenty of things I'm sure you could probably think of that you actually
Or you
need
could
it for.
trade it.
Right, or you
Trade
can
it to
trade
other
it. It's
people.
something worth trading.
Yeah.
But then also like Frank is the humanity of the situation. He's still showing that
absolutely.
we still got to keep our humanity and be people. We are people. We want friends. I want friends to invite to do things. Just going to apocalypse
Mhm.
doesn't mean life has to fucking suck and be all about survival.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That's why he played the piano. Art is
Right.
important.
Yes, very much. And that goes into one of my favorite, I'm gonna call it a cameo appearances, because Frank is the Tess of the couple, and we get Joel and Tess. I was just so happy to see Tess again in this episode. Also seeing her not
Grizzled.
having the shit kicked out of her, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It was just it was such a nice surprise, a genuine surprise. I was like, "Oh my god, this was so awesome," and adds so much to the game, and
Mm-hmm.
especially adds so much to the game in the sense that this is 2010 at this point, meaning Joel and Tess have known each other for at least minimum 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fact that the two of them were there means they've probably known each other for at least 2 more years, having been that comfortable, I would imagine, with each other to kind of be almost a couple and going alone with to this random place together.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine they've known each other for 15 years. I mean, Joel just lost someone he's been with for 15 fucking years.
Yeah.
And I love that added so much to her death,
Mm-hmm.
not only in the show, but also in the game for me personally. I thought that was just wonderful.
Yeah. Very weird scene too, to like just be sitting all around like a little table outside. But man, did they get lucky that, Frank was just randomly reaching out to people on the radio and he found them. Because
Yeah.
good God, could that go badly for them in there.
I felt so dumb not realizing that it would be Tess when he says I was speaking to a woman on the radio. Like I did not. I was like, oh, I wonder if that is just a random person.
Who are we bringing over?
Yeah.
That's
They
funny.
really struck the lottery there. Because these
Yeah.
are nice people that will definitely be your friends and
And that's
respect
why,
your
yeah.
ownership.
Once again, that's why Bill was like, I'm gonna bring my gun. Because we don't know who
Mhm.
the fuck these people are. He instantly was like,
Yeah.
what? You reached out to someone on the radio? The
Yeah.
fuck is wrong with you? And
Mhm.
rightfully so. Because you don't know
Yeah.
what people want, or when they find out you have nice things, they might come back
Right.
and take those nice things. You got wine. You know how much alcohol probably goes for in the apocalypse? Oh my
Right.
god, I'm
Right.
definitely shooting you. Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah, but
Mhm.
no, it was just it was a very normalish scene, which is odd for this universe.
yeah, it felt a
Yeah.
little uncomfortable seeing them sit there drinking wine and eating little food and stuff.
Everybody being clean and well dressed.
It's just also fun to see Joel being like, "I get it. We're the same. I would do the same exact thing. Like, I get it." But notice that like this goes back to Tess saying in the last episode where like I never asked you to feel the way I felt. Joel, he just can't say my partner, my other, but he says mine.
Mine.
Mhm.
He stops himself. He says, "If mine," he just ends it at mine, and it's just like that man. He's still got a wallop. He cannot love.
Mhm.
And then that we cut 3 more years, 2013. This was the second tear jerky scene for me. Like Brian brought it up earlier, the strawberry scene. Just
Mhm.
because one, the song that plays is the song that one of my favorite songs, and it's actually from Last of Us Part 2, and it's one of the songs that I learned to play. And so as soon as it kicked in, I was like, "Oh god." And then just the scene of themselves, like you said, Nick Offerman laughing like a child eating a strawberry.
It was
Mhm.
adorable, man. I hate it.
Yeah, it was very
Ugh,
I
beautiful.
don't
and
know how to describe it, but it's this thing that I get sometimes. I don't know if this feeling has a word, but it's like when someone, especially adults, do something that's just so fucking pure and innocent. It just gives you such a it's like almost secondhand embarrassment, with at the same time just being so fucking cute that you just want to die.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was definitely one of those scenes. Another one that reminds me, just like off as a slight rant, is I remember one time coming out of the SPCA and then seeing a group of like factory worker men outside taking pictures of a rainbow. And it was just like the cutest fucking thing, seeing these men in like their 50s being like, "Do you see that? It's a fucking
Like you turn into
rainbow."
a child.
Yeah, and it's just like,
Yeah.
that's so fucking pure. The world doesn't have enough of
Yeah.
that anymore, and especially this world. In The
Right.
Last of Us, you definitely there's no purity anymore. Everyone has to be hardened. So it's just, I don't know, man.
Basically.
That shit hits different.
And just like the couple of the lines that just like were so good, where he says I'm sorry for getting older faster than you. Bill says that to Frank, and it's just like, oh, yeah, it's just heartbreaking, and it's just love. That's like that's just love, you know. Again, throughout this show, as the creators have talked about, but specifically in this episode, love is very much a theme of The Last of Us. You know, even in this weird bleak world. That, and then when he says, "I was never afraid before you showed up," like
Yeah.
that's ugh, it just cuts straight to it, straight to the core, man.
Yeah.
Ugh, yeah, that was a fantastic scene, and I want a Bill and Frank spinoff.
Just them living their merry lives.
Yeah. I wanna see I wanna see them build this town up more, like, yeah, it was great. And I think that's how you know they did a good job, I think, with this whole
Yeah.
partnership.
Two tertiary characters just became the fucking forefront of your mind for an entire episode.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Not much to say about the Raider attack, but, yeah, Frank absolutely got Bill shot by distracting him.
Yep.
But why was Bill just standing out in the middle with no cover? That was dumb for a survivalist. That's
He
a
would've-
really
right.
dumb strategy.
Yeah.
He had a rifle. You just go stand behind something.
I was watching it with
True.
a friend, and I was immediately pissed as soon as Frank started yelling and then started running around. I was like, "You stay where you. If you don't know where someone is in a survival situation, and you both are looking for each other, you're both gonna die. You have to work for surviving yourself, and then you find out
Right.
what's going on afterwards. You do not go looking for someone. That's how people die. And look what happened. Homeboy got shot over it. Fucking stupid.
Yeah. I was genuinely worried for a second that Bill was gonna die. I was like,
Yeah, he really did look like
shit.
he was going to die there.
Damn.
I mean, they kind of like the shot they did right before they cut to the next scene made it look like he did die.
Right.
Yeah, very
Like
much
he
so.
wasn't moving.
And they did that on purpose because then they kind of did a thing with the voices where when it was cutting to black and like showing where they were next, it would make you think that Bill was going to be the one in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And then when it wasn't, it was like, oh, what they
What's
doing
this?
here? Huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it flashes 10 years later. It's like, oh, fuck. What?
Oh my god.
And then more
Ugh.
tears come because Frank clearly has some kind of degenerative disease, some kind of MS or ALS of some sort. And it's just heartbreaking to watch. Just watching them being older than they are, that with the aging makeup and everything, it's just like, oh shit.
And they did a good job with the makeup. Like I really felt like I was like, damn,
Mhm.
these some old people.
Yeah,
They did a good
absolutely.
job. Yeah.
I love that Frank paints. So there's art everywhere. There's even a painting of Joel
Yeah.
you see at one point. So I was like, oh my god, that's so awesome. And then we enter the sad part of the Pixar movie where Frank's like, this is my last day. This was the scene I think that really got me, and I think probably got most people's. Frank describing what they're gonna do on this day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a shot of Nick Offerman, of Bill, just holding back tears as hard as he can until he can't no more. And it's just that scene right there. I was like, he killed. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Just he was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
It hits. I mean, it was one of those things where it's like it's beautiful, but then also like how do you let go of someone? But when someone like
Oh,
taking your death and being in the little bit of control that you can be when it comes to, end of life is difficult. Not everyone gets that, ability to still to pass with a little bit of pride, I suppose. And
Right.
that's a big thing, just like in death as a whole, that like I think that talking about that is an interesting thing because we don't talk about it enough as humans. So that's why that kind of like hit me differently, where it's like, yeah, we need more people to talk about these things. What do you want when you know you're about to die? He knows his life isn't going well. He knows he doesn't like living like this. He's not comfortable.
He knows that he's not gonna get better.
Right. How do you want to die?
Yeah.
Do you want to wait until you get so bad that you can't do anything anymore and then it becomes a decision of someone else? Or do you want to take it while you still have the faculties to do so? And I think even Bill kind of understood that as much as he didn't want to accept it, where he's like, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, it sucks.
I mean, it even goes to the line where Frank asks him, "Do you love me?" And he says, "Yes." And he says, "Then love me the way I want you to."
Right.
Just for right now,
Man,
just love me the way I
this
want.
blew
you to.
WandaVision out the fucking water. That shit had so many fucking episodes. And we got one fucking line out of that whole fucking show. But you know how many lines we got out of 50 minutes of television? That's crazy.
That is immediately what I thought of in this episode. I was like, Sorry,
They
WandaVision.
they were writing fucking fire every single line when they wrote this script. Every single it was
Oh,
all on fire. The whole thing was woo hot. Ah.
yeah. Oh, so good. Yeah, absolutely. And then you get a beautiful montage of them. They get married. He cooks them the exact same meal that they met. Well, the first meal
Ugh,
they had together, which that's just good writing. That's just good writing there, man. God damn it.
fucking kill me, dude.
Ugh.
Just sobbing the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, ugh, it's just and like the music's so well done here. I think it's a pretty famous song. I can't remember off the top of my head though, but it's not an original piece to the show. I mean, but it's just that montage was so well done and ugh, very sad. And then it gets to the point where yeah, Frank well he asked him earlier to you're gonna crush these pills and put them in my wine, and then you're gonna
Hmm.
take me to bed, and I'm gonna fall asleep in your arms. And they get to the point where he's crushing the pills. He puts them in the wine, and this is what got shocked me. I don't know why I was shocked, but I think maybe because my game brain was still on, where I was shocked that Bill also had the pills in it, and he just put them in the whole thing in the bottle of wine.
He's like,
Hmm.
was that enough? Yeah, put enough to kill a horse. Jesus Christ, bro.
Yep. Not playing around.
Oh, it's just heartbreaking. And then he just the line that where he says, "You were my purpose," and now that you were going, basically, you now you're going to be gone. I'm content, and I can go too. And it's just,
He
ugh,
said another thing. Yeah, that thing about I'm old, I'm content. He said
yeah.
he's lived enough life. He's lived a good life in his mind. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like I watched this twice, and man, like I could see myself just watching this randomly because it's just such a. It's because it's such a bottle-ish episode at the same time. It's just you could just watch this in one setting and be like, I just watched a mini movie. This
Right.
was fantastic.
Ugh.
That and then obviously he takes Frank to bed, and that's it. You don't see them alive, or actually, either way, you don't see them ever again for the rest of this
Right.
episode.
See, I was thinking that Frank would die, and then it would just cut to like a few weeks later, and that's when Joel shows up with Ellie, and then they just meet a grieving Bill who's just pissed as hell.
Right.
But
Right.
like, and I don't know how if that's how it is in the game, because I'm assuming in the game you actually get to interact with him. But I don't know. But yeah, it's just kind of a very surprising thing. But maybe that's why they did that for the show, to surprise you game players as well.
It was a funny thing to know that those people had nothing to do with the actual story out of the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Like you said, they literally just passing through, and that's it.
They could have literally done the same thing of like, Joel and Ellie walk by a garage and it's like, oh, hey, a car. Oh, hey, some guns and supplies. Look at that. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
no.
find a note, and that's about it.
And I just want to say, like, because I made the mistake of looking at some comments about this episode, which that was a horrible idea. I feel like most people are complaining. Obviously, either people could have reasonable reasons and people can have stupid, toxic, idiotic reasons. But for the people that have the reason that they think this is just a filler episode, I will say that I can see your point, but it's very much a theme of The Last of Us. Like Brian talked about last week, where one of his concerns was this is a show about people, and if you don't think that this episode was about people, you're nuts.
Right. It was only about people.
Right. Right.
So it is very much a theme of The Last of Us to get into this. Yeah.
Filler episodes, I feel like people don't actually know what filler episodes are, because there's a lot of things that's like taken from stuff like anime and stuff like that when it's trying to catch up to manga,
Right.
things of that nature. But like if it's world building, it's not nothing. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
if it adds to the world that you see, it's not nothing. And we're in a really interesting, place right now, because this is something that comes from something else, a media that is also visual media. So when you have a very interesting opportunity to now add some more world building that you didn't necessarily have. Like if you just made a cutscene of this in the video game, people would be like, "Why the fuck am I watching an hour of this? I want to fucking shoot some zombies. What's going on here?" But to add this in TV, you actually did what I was afraid couldn't happen, where you
Right.
made more. I
Yeah.
thought that making a TV show out of video game was taking away from, but you somehow managed to make more, and it worked.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't know if there will always be hits, but this one was a hit. This was not a miss at all.
Right.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't love
Absolutely.
that filler feeling, because I don't get that at all.
I don't either. I think it's a we don't have to continue getting into it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was astounding. Get back to Joel and Ellie approaching Bill's farm, which I would imagine not much time has passed considering I think the last time it was
Mm-hmm.
obviously 2023, so I don't know how much longer
There's
it
like a
was.
little bit of dust. Like the
Yeah.
plate was still there and it's
The
still
enough for
molding
the
a little
flowers
bit.
to be dead.
Yeah, the
Oh.
flowers are drooping. But see, like, I just thought like it was kind of odd. They could have like reset there a little bit, but I guess they got what they needed and they figured they'd continue on. But
Hmm.
like that place. I mean, he should send out a ping to somebody. Be like, this place is fully set up for survival. Like, shouldn't let it fall into disrepair and shambles.
Yeah.
But also, Joel kind of stays to himself, so I don't know that he has anybody else that he cares about. He lost the only person he.
Or maybe, yeah, maybe he wants to keep it for himself. Maybe maybe he figures if he ever makes it back, he'll go back there.
Yeah.
But it's just a perfect spot to set up camp.
It's true. I love that Bill leaves a note to whomever, but probably Joel.
Yeah, that's great.
And yeah, just as Ellie is reading the note, one of the few comedic moments of the episode is that Bill still puts a he in his note.
His Ron Swanson giggle, for sure. I could hear him saying it.
Yeah, and he basically like, I never liked you, Joel, but I guess you're somewhat of a friend. Take all the shit. Don't come in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
We left the window open. But yeah, and it was just I really dug this, especially when he gets to the point of use all this stuff to protect Tess. And I really love how
Yeah.
much they're giving a Tess a eulogy because in the game, let's face it, this is not a spoiler. As soon as Tess dies, you don't think about Tess ever again.
Yeah, she did not get her just desserts in that.
And so I love how much more they're giving Tess in even post death in this show, and especially, and this will happen. We'll talk about this more later on, so I'll be brief in the sense that I think that note is really adding to Joel fundamentally. I'll just say that. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Joel, quick little exposition. He says his brother used to be a firefly. He's in Wyoming. He might be in trouble. Let's use this truck and get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
They get all this shit. Before they leave, I have to shout out because I'm currently wearing it. I put it on purpose. We finally got the shirt. I was so happy. As soon as she holds that shirt, I was like, that better be it.
The Ellie red
She gets
shirt.
the little red shirt that she wears in the game with the little palm trees on it. And I was like, yes, we're done. We're good. We're good. We're happy. I'm happy now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
She also got a gun. So
Yeah.
that's important. That might be important.
She got Frank's gun. Yep.
We're like, oh, that's cute. She got a shirt. She also got a gun. Get Blaster 5000.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also love how this is like, it explains how like in the video game, they're just wearing different clothes randomly.
Right.
And like a next section is like, oh, when did they change? I love how they put a reason in the show. Like they showered and changed and they're fresh and ready to go.
Some little stuff.
Yeah. I love the little things in that. Yeah, it's great. And that's about it. It ends with the same song, the Linda Ronstadt song. And then they sail off and ends with a beautiful window shot that most video game players will be somewhat familiar with as the main menu to the game. It's just a window with the curtains rolled open.
Oh wow.
Quick behind the scenes shit real fast that I saw. Speaking of that window, they talk about how their initial idea was to start every episode with a window. And not just that they wanted it to say, instead of skip intro, it would say press play at the beginning of every episode.
Oh.
And listen, and like on streaming, and like watchers would be able to sit at that window as long as they wanted until they actually hit press play on their remote or some shit. And I was like,
that would
have been
cool.
nuts.
That would have been super cool.
They should have done that. Maybe season 2.
Yeah, I think they mentioned how like it just didn't really work logistically. They couldn't figure out, well, some of these windows really aren't that impressive.
Right. Yeah.
We don't know how to shoehorn a window into this.
Right.
But that's pretty much it for that video game comparison stuff. Brian, do you have any things you want to get into?
I mean,
I guess the big one being,
this is nothing like what happens in the game. Not a damn portion. The only thing that is basically the same in the game that is in this is that Bill is gay with Frank. That's
Yes.
about where that begins and ends. How far do you want me to get into it? Because Devin's looking at me real.
I mean, no, we listeners, we're in the section where we're spoiling the video game comparison. So if you haven't played the game or you don't and don't want to know, check out, because
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you cannot spoil what happens to Bill in the game, do you play as him, or does Joel actually meet him during the events of the game?
So you do meet Bill. You do actually meet and talk and hang out with Bill. It's kind of funny the way that they changed the way that I mean, there's still traps and stuff getting into the thing, but like in gameplay world, you're actually disarming Bill's traps to get to his hideout. And Bill is
Right.
crazy. And
Ah,
you can definitely die in this portion of the game because there are some stupid ass traps in there that you will not see.
Yeah.
Because Bill is pretty smart. There's definitely some times where you have to try twice. So I thought that was really
Right.
interesting. But yeah, Bill
that's
is a
cool.
guy. He is really grumpy, still crazy, and you can definitely tell that his grumpiness is partially from losing his partner Frank. The
Right.
difference here that really like comes down to it is the fact that it wasn't so much of a love story. Frank actually
Yeah.
came to loathe Bill because of his
It's
craziness.
fucking
Yeah, it's
sad.
really sad because of his craziness because it was one of those, and that's why this is like it's almost like a a eulogy, not a eulogy, like not a eulogy, but like a homage to this person that doesn't exist. But it's like in his like rabid desire to try to protect Frank, he was actually hurting Frank. Because Frank wanted to live a normal life and live with other people and stuff like that, but he just wanted to protect Frank. So Frank was like, fuck this, you're crazy, dude. So basically what he tries to do is he tries to leave, in which Frank gets bitten a whole bunch of times trying to get back, and he hangs
Damn.
himself in order
Yeah.
to not turn into one of the what are they, quadriceps? What do you call them? One of the zombies, cordyceps.
Cordyceps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what he
Hmm.
does. And he
Yeah.
writes this note to Bill, and that note is fucking mean. It's really fucking mean. And you can find this like you're finding this out in the game, not by cutscene, but by you
This is
roll up.
purely
Yeah,
optional.
you roll up on this body and you find this note, and then you read it, and it's like, "Hey, Bill, I fucking hate your guts. Why would you be this way? I was trying to get out. I don't want to turn. Blah blah blah. Yada yada yada." And
Yeah.
you have the opportunity that you can pick up that note and you can bring it to Bill. And you don't, like you said, you don't have to. You don't have to do any of those if
Wow.
you don't want to.
It teaches Joel a different lesson than what the note in this show teaches Joel, in the sense that it's completely the
Hmm.
opposite.
Right.
Whereas in this show, Joel or Bill is trying to teach Joel of finding your purpose and protecting someone or something or whatever. Whereas in the game, it's like Bill literally says earlier is like, one thing of having a partner is gonna do is get you killed. That's the only thing it's good for. And it's completely opposite of
Wow.
don't do this. You're fucked. You're not gonna make it. All this shit. So
Damn.
yeah, it's very different. And maybe we'll get into a little more when Devin doesn't want to hear spoilers.
I'm going point show in that case because that sounds
And that's what
pretty
I kind
bleak.
of I agree with you there. That I do think that I didn't get much from Bill as a character in the game because it just was another tragic, sad, angry story of people dying because
Mhm.
shit sucks. You know what I mean? And it's like we've already gotten that with so many
Yeah.
characters at
Hmm.
this point that I didn't know that we necessarily need that again in this show, especially because there's no gameplay to kind of break that up. You just get straight into it. So I think
Right.
they made the right choice. Like this is the first time like I think that this was an improvement upon what was in the game there because it told a very different
Right.
thing. It showed, like you said, happiness,
Right.
humanity, love.
Hmm.
Again, I could also imagine they're like, not a lot of happiness or happy endings happen throughout this. Like just living in this world, it's not great. So maybe we should give the audience a tiny-ish win.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take that W for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give those characters the happy ending that they wanted to have in the game.
Yeah. I will say, like, I guess, like, video game comparison wise, there is some things like I miss like some banter between the characters that's not in the show, obviously, because they don't meet. But again, the game's still there. I can still play that.
Because Bill's fucking crazy. Bill's a nut job, and he says some
Yeah.
really
Hmm.
off color shit because he's a nut job, and it's kind of funny to be like watch Ellie kind of like take it all in, like you know this guy, you're friends with this man right here, and it's like not we're not really friends. We're colleagues at most. So yeah,
Yeah.
I do agree. I
Yeah.
miss some of that for sure, especially for Nick Offerman. To watch him
Hmm.
be kooky is really funny.
Right. Right. But maybe we'll talk more about that once Devin out of here and spoiler free. Yeah, Devin, thank you for having us. We're glad you were here.
Definitely really good episode, and yeah, it looks like that truck is not going to last long.
It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you next week then, man.
All right. Sounds good. Love you guys.
Love you
See
too,
ya.
man.
Love you, man. All right, Brian, are you ready for another edition of Shh? There's a clicker over there.
Boo, tomato, tomato.
Again, this is a part, listeners, where any spoilers are on the table, future spoilers, everything is available to us. So just be aware. If you really don't want to know anymore, dip out. That being said, still talking about some of these video game comparisons because Devin, we don't want to spoil it too much for Devin on the video game side of it. Um, again, like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of stuff where it's like you can tell they care about the game because they're even putting other things in here that aren't necessarily in this part of the game, or they're still so, like, they're still honoring it. So,
Right.
like, the whole, like, when even in that note that Bill leaves Joel where he says, "I never liked you," similar to what Frank says, "I don't like you, Bill,"
Which
in
is
his note.
that was the kinda thing that made me, because I was, even when I played the game for the first time, one of the things that I thought was like, maybe that's just their banner, and he doesn't actually hate him. That's just how they talk to each other. You know what I mean? Like a kind of camaraderie. Like, I never liked you anyway, you idiot. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
the mean old grandma shit. And then that seeing that
Oh,
note kind of made me feel that way again, where I was like, maybe in the game it was meant to be not taken so directly as like, I just don't fucking like you.
right.
Like,
I don't know. It seems
so I don't
pretty
know.
it seems pretty direct in
It
the
seemed
game when
pretty hateful.
Bill's like, "Well, fuck you too, Frank," but so that was interesting, but, like, everything like Joel bundle he balls up that note and chucks it. That's what Bill does when
Mhm.
Joel hands it to him. It's like little things like that. I'm like, I love things like that because it's like, that like, because like, there's constantly people like, they don't know what they're doing with this adaptation. It's not true to the game. It's like, the details are there. They care like no other
They
about
put the
this
shirts in there, you
property.
know what I mean? Like, shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny how little Halo cared about what they did compared to this. Like, seeing those 2 shows come out so closely to each other and seeing what a care
Right.
looks like for an IP. And, we're only 3 episodes in, they could totally fumble the bag next episode, who knows? But I know they
Right,
won't.
right.
And then seeing Halo, it's just like, damn, they
Yeah.
this is what care looks like. If more things put care in a
Mhm.
property and less of trying, like with Velma coming out right now, that currently airing at the same
Right.
time on HBO. It's so weird. It's so weird that
Yeah, yeah.
why this is what happens. We see how successful it is to put love into something. Just do it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't disagree. I still can't believe they killed Bill.
I was
That
I thought
whew!
there was no way they could have, and then when they did, and like when I first saw it, I was just kind of like, what the fuck was the point of this?
Right,
And it was like,
right.
yeah, they did tell a very beautiful story, and I really appreciate that story. But yeah, it kind of almost, video game wise, this would be me like finding a supply cache at most. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And then moving off my life.
absolutely.
So it was weird to just take these characters and then you don't even meet them in the current world.
Right. Again, like, what I miss is, like, the Ellie Bill banter. There's some funny stuff that they do between each other of when they first meet in the game of, like that's the stuff I miss, but at the same time, uh, the note worked for me so well in this episode because, like, I know what's coming. So I think this note, it kind of not goes over the head of people who don't know the story, but it's like, because like to me, I'm like, I know exactly what this note is meant to do in the sense that this is starting to make Joel feel the purpose of why he makes the choice he does at the end of the game,
Right.
at the end of the story,
Mhm.
and like it starts right now with this what Bill's telling him, and I was like, to me, I understand and, like, that could be, like, maybe, like, too on the nose for people who played the game, but, like, I would imagine people who don't know what's happening is, like, that's gonna give them reason as to why he does what he does, so I thought it worked
For
perfectly.
sure. Absolutely.
Um, especially because that he brings up Tess, like, Joel just lost Tess, so he already failed the thing that Bill told him to do,
Aw.
and he's lost Sarah, so he's failed there, and so his life is just full of failures of not being able to save people, so I'm like, it makes total fucking sense.
That's interesting. I didn't even consider that that dimension when it happened. Yeah. I just thought about the test part of like, damn, well he already fucking failed that, so that feels pretty awful. And that's why, he crumbled up the letter. He's like, man, I suck at
Yeah,
everything. But yeah,
right.
this final decision for people that have played the game involves Ellie and protecting her. And
Yeah.
we all know he makes that decision.
Yeah, it's just, all if it's just about saving the one person like Bill is just, "I saved this one person. My purpose was to keep this person safe." Joel does the same thing. He makes the same choice that Bill
That'll
does,
be
you know?
damn good writing as long as they don't do any flashback of it and don't put any Nick
Right.
Offerman voice in his head or something. Be like, protect the one.
That is the one thing where I say this is a huge risk that could pay off
uh,
if this works.
I mean, it's super smart, and YouTubers would go crazy about telling you about that and like, all
Right,
the secrets you might have missed. But if they do
right.
try to push it too far into your head, the same way they've done the pancake thing, that might
Oh,
that
yeah.
might
I
be a miss.
I don't need them to talk about how this started anymore. I think this episode was crystal clear about it
Right.
now. We got it.
Yes.
And the things that I missed, which again, I didn't think they were gonna do it at all. Do you remember the whole upside down sequence? where you Bill first saves
Oh,
you
yeah.
because you get stuck in his trap and you're
Uh-huh.
upside down having to fire, and it's like an amazing gameplay sequence. I was like, I don't think it's one thing, it would never work the same way on
Right.
home. It's not gonna work because 'cause you're not experiencing it. What are they gonna put the camera upside down and watch the like, it doesn't make sense, which is why I was like, I didn't think they were ever gonna do it. They could still do kind of something about it, but either it might be the thing of like, we know that we can never make this as good as the game because it's such a gameplay focused part.
Mhm.
So maybe we just do something
I'm
else.
willing to
I don't know.
bet there's a world where they might have tried. Maybe not for long. Maybe there's not any real footage of it
Right.
showing, but I will think they because I mean, one cool thing is, any kind of trick that you can do with the camera is interesting, especially like non-normal shots. And that's a pretty non-normal
Mhm.
shot that I think could be interesting to
Right.
see. But maybe they just couldn't get it to look quite like you said. Maybe they just knew like, oh, it's not hitting the same. So they just decided to
Right.
just not go for it. Because yeah, I do think that would have been interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how they would have fit that in.
I don't know. Obviously, no school, no bloater, none of that happens at
Ugh.
all in this sequence, obviously. Which I guess if
They're
like
saving that for
if the bloater's your money shot,
yeah.
don't waste it here and then do it again
That's
later, you
episode
know?
7,
So
I feel like, for sure. Yeah,
right.
for no reason. Interesting. Oh, maybe we're getting too far off topic. Do you think they're gonna bring the nasty multiple person monster in Last of Us 2?
I think they have to.
Oh god.
Yeah. Absolutely. They
The
have
body
to.
horror in this game is so, intense that I can't. I don't I
Yeah.
feel like they're definitely gonna tone some of this stuff down. Obviously, we haven't seen too many, like, people die yet, from
Right.
the zombies, but, some of those death sequences to Joel are pretty gruesome. Um, so I
Yeah.
wonder if they'll ever add any of that
Yeah.
in there with some face ripping Pedro Pascal style. Uh,
Yeah, I don't know. Oof, I don't know. I think we're gonna see a lot of violence next week, but I don't know if we'll see many infected,
oof.
you know?
Yeah,
Ooh. And then one thing that we'll see if they do it, they still have a chance to because it's one of my favorite scenes, but it's also I kind of understand if they don't. Do you remember the scene where they're driving in the car before they
she's the
crash?
magazine.
The porno scene?
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
they were gonna do it at the end of this episode, so I was kind of surprised. It seems like
Me
they still
too.
have talking to do in the truck. So I think they're
Right.
gonna do it. I think they're definitely gonna do it.
I could see a world where they're like I definitely understand why they wouldn't do it here because it's like a very emotional, tonally sad scene by the end of this episode. So it's like, we really want to end on a cum joke.
Yeah,
So we'll see. It's very funny in the game, but also we're 10 years old.
right. And I'm thinking
We're
about the
fucking
way that
children.
Bella Ramsey could potentially deliver the line. I was like, will it hit? Or will it be a
I
throwaway Marvel
yeah.
joke? You know what I mean?
Need some bye bye, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, we'll see. Either way, I'm very excited for next week. Yeah, man, this was a hefty episode, so that's why it was kind of a hefty listen here, listener. So appreciate you sticking around. Um, yeah, man, this was whew. We'll see if any other episode lives up to this. I'm excited though.
I want to know now. I'm kind of at the place where like, what will they change now? Because this was a pretty decently large change.
Right. This was. I think did hear that this was going to be the biggest deviation
Mm,
of the season. So I think everything else will be more cut and dry, the
'cause we
same.
still got a lot to go.
We got a lot of
They
shit to
got a
get
lot of
through, you
sadness
know.
to get
So
through.
if you, I have a feeling that we're gonna meet Henry and Sam next week, but we're not gonna get through their
I
entire
think
story.
so too. That sounds about right.
And there might be a two-parter, which means like that's gonna be episode 5, bro. That's like we got 4 left after that. Like what the fuck?
I don't. Yeah, pacing wise, I'm a little confused on how it seems like it's still making sense so far, but I feel like there's still plenty
Yeah.
of game left. So I'm kind of, I don't know. I guess you can skip a lot of
I
fighting,
mean,
so that kind of helps.
right, right, yeah. So either way, man, this is a hell of a ride so far, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And I'm already feeling sad that it's gonna be gone and over. Like it's
We're 3 episodes in. You're already sad that it's over.
we're already a third of the way. We only got 6 left, man. It's nuts. But it's been great. So I'm highly enjoying it. Is that all you got for this episode, man?
That's all I got. I'm excited for the next one.
Alrighty, listeners. As usual, you can email us at thefortressof@gmail.com. Fortress spelled FOUR. Feel free to email us any questions, feedback, recommendations, or anything like that. Also follow us Twitter, Instagram, and the YouTube channel at the Fortress of. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell your cat to rate and review us, preferably 5 stars, but whatever you like. Tell everyone. Thank you, Jackie, for helping edit the podcast. Thank you, Brian, for the art, Alex for the music, and Devin, thank you for being here, even when you're not here. Find Brian on Instagram at ITZ by the way, Alex at Peterson Films, and Devin, you cannot find him because we don't know where he is. That's okay. He is he's painting a boutique right now. Yeah, we'll see you next time, everyone, for episode 4 of HBO's The Last of Us.
Pew pew.
Nice.
That's my LA gun sounds.